You see, most people think love is about possession. They think love is holding on, clinging, demanding, needing someone to complete them. But real love, the kind that transforms lives, the kind that frees the soul, is not attachment. It's not control. It's not dependency. It's expansion. It's the ability to let someone be fully themselves while you become more of yourself. As Alan Watts once said, when you look for happiness in someone else, you destroy both. So today, let's talk about how to love without attachment, how to love with strength, with freedom, with power. Love without control is not weakness. It's the ultimate form of strength. When you truly love someone, you don't chain them. You champion them. You don't demand that they fit your version of love. You let them be their truest self, even if that means they grow beyond your expectations. Control comes from fear. Fear of loss, fear of being abandoned, fear of not being enough. But real love is not about fear. It's about faith. Faith that even if they walk away, your love was real. Faith that your worth doesn't shrink when someone leaves. You can't claim to love someone and still try to cage them. That's not love. That's ownership. Love is freedom. It's the art of giving someone wings and trusting that if they're meant to fly with you, they will. When you release control, you make room for connection. When you stop needing to dominate, you begin to elevate. That's what loving without attachment really means. Not letting go of the person, but letting go of the fear that makes you cling. You grow stronger when you stop using love as a tool of validation and start using it as a vehicle for liberation. The most powerful relationships are not those rooted in dependence, but in mutual respect, trust, and space to evolve. The root of attachment is fear, pure and simple. Every time you cling, it's because deep down you're terrified of being alone. You believe that if this person leaves, you'll collapse. But that's an illusion your mind built long before love ever entered the picture. That fear is born from conditioning, from a lifetime of being told that you're not enough on your own. But the truth is you are whole. You are already complete. You don't need anyone to validate your worth. You just need to remember who you are. When you operate from fear, love becomes a negotiation. If you stay, I'll feel safe. But when you operate from power, love becomes an offering. I choose you not because I need to, but because I want to. Fear shackles love. Freedom amplifies it. Let go of the desperate urge to control the outcome. Replace fear with faith. Faith in your own resilience. Faith that life doesn't take away what's essential, only what's holding you back. Every time you face that fear and let it dissolve, you become stronger, more magnetic, more alive. You begin to love with courage, not caution. You stop saying, don't leave me, and start saying, I trust myself enough to love fully without fear of loss. That's real love, fearless, grounded, and free. Most people confuse attachment with connection. They think the tighter they hold on, the stronger the bond becomes. But the opposite is true. When you grip too tightly, you suffocate love. Real connection is not about possession. It's about presence. It's the energy you bring to the moment, not the control you impose on another person. You can't connect with someone when your energy is consumed by fear of losing them. True love thrives in openness, not obsession. When you shift from, I need you, to, I choose to share this space with you, everything changes. You stop coming from lack and start coming from abundance. You stop chasing connection and start creating it. The foundation of any powerful relationship, romantic, platonic, or spiritual, is emotional freedom. You can't love deeply if you're constantly trying to protect yourself from pain. The walls you build to keep hurt out are the same walls that keep love from getting in. When you lower those walls and show up as your real, unfiltered self, that's when love becomes transformative. It's no longer about filling a void. It's about expanding your soul. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means allowing connection to exist without control. It means standing strong enough in your own identity that love becomes a choice, not a crutch. Your power begins the moment you stop trying to control outcomes. Most people live trapped in a pattern of expectation. They love with conditions, hoping to receive something in return. But real love is unconditional, not because it's blind, but because it's free. When you love from a place of freedom, you no longer depend on the external world to make you feel whole. You realize that the relationship that matters most is the one you have with yourself. That's where true fulfillment begins. Discipline in love is not about withholding emotion. It's about mastering your attachment to results. When you stop asking, what will I get out of this? And start asking, how can I grow from this? Everything transforms. You become grounded, not reactive. You start loving consciously instead of compulsively. Every time you release your need to control how someone loves you back, you reclaim your inner strength. The energy that once went into clinging now fuels creation, growth, and purpose. You become magnetic because you're no longer chasing, you're attracting. This is the paradox of detachment. The more you let go, the more peace, love, and connection flow into your life. Love without needing to own it. Give without demanding a return. That's not weakness. That's ultimate power. That's the space where love becomes limitless. Most people love through the lens of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough. But love built on fear will always turn into pain. You've got to flip the script. Love isn't about finding someone to complete you. It's about becoming so whole within yourself that you can share your fullness with another. You must first learn to sit with your own emotions. The loneliness, the doubt, the silence, and see them not as enemies, but as teachers. Every time you escape yourself by clinging to another person, you weaken your foundation. But every time you face your own inner storm and choose peace anyway, you build emotional strength. That's how you become unshakable. Love can only thrive between two complete individuals, not two halves searching to be made whole. When you enter a relationship from wholeness, you give without fear of loss because you're not seeking validation. You're expressing abundance. The love that grows from self-acceptance is fearless. You no longer manipulate, demand, or beg for attention. You simply exist in truth, and that truth becomes magnetic. When you stop looking for someone to fill your emptiness and instead bring fullness to every connection, that's when love evolves from dependency to divine connection. The reason most people struggle with love is because they confuse attachment for commitment. Attachment says, I need you to stay so I can feel safe. Commitment says, I choose to show up fully regardless of fear. The difference is power. Attachment is rooted in lack. It drains your energy, keeps you reactive, makes you dependent on external validation. But commitment, real commitment, is rooted in strength. It's a conscious decision to grow with someone while maintaining your individuality. When you operate from commitment, you don't cling, you invest. You don't panic when things shift. You adapt. You don't lose yourself trying to keep someone. You find deeper alignment with who you are. That's emotional mastery. You must train your mind to let love be a choice, not an addiction. The person who can stand alone can love without fear. That's why solitude is powerful. It teaches you that your worth doesn't come from who chooses you, but from how deeply you choose yourself. When you learn this, every relationship becomes richer, freer, more alive. Because now you're no longer trying to survive love. You're expanding through it. True love isn't a cage. It's a catalyst. It doesn't hold you down. It lifts you higher. You can't experience deep, liberated love if you're still chained to your expectations of how it should look, feel, or unfold. Expectations are the silent killers of peace. They create invisible prisons around your heart. When you expect someone to behave, respond, or love in a specific way, you're not connecting with who they are. You're connecting with your image of them. That's not love. That's control wearing a mask of affection. The truth is, the more you try to control love, the faster it slips through your fingers. Freedom and love are intertwined. You can't have one without the other. Let people be who they are, not who you wish they'd be. When you do that, you create space for real connection. That doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect or settle for less. It means you learn to love from awareness, not from fear. You understand that every person is on their own journey and you can't force their evolution. The paradox is that when you release your grip, when you stop trying to mold others into your fantasy, love begins to breathe again. You feel lighter. The relationship becomes a dance, not a contract. You begin to appreciate the moments, not manipulate the outcome. That's how love transforms from something fragile into something unbreakable, because it's no longer built on need, but on truth. Forgiveness is the bridge between freedom and love. You cannot move forward while carrying the weight of resentment. Every grudge, every wound, every "you did this to me" story is like dragging chains through life. You think you're protecting yourself, but what you're really doing is imprisoning your own heart. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was okay. It's saying you're no longer willing to let it control your future. You're reclaiming your power from the pain. When you forgive, you cut the energetic cord that keeps you tethered to the past. You start to heal not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. That's emotional mastery, transforming pain into wisdom. People will hurt you not always out of malice, but out of their own fear and confusion. Don't let their brokenness dictate your destiny. You must rise above that and realize that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's the highest form of strength. It takes a warrior to look at their scars and still choose love. The moment you forgive, you stop being a victim of your story and become the author of your next chapter. That's when love, pure, powerful, limitless love, returns. Because you've removed the armor around your heart and replaced it with truth, compassion, and freedom. Love without attachment means stepping into a space where your worth isn't dependent on another person's presence, opinion, or validation. Most people confuse attachment with love, but attachment says, I need you to be okay, while love says, I choose you because I'm already whole. When you love from lack, you attract chaos. When you love from abundance, you create peace. The truth is, the moment you make someone else responsible for your happiness, you hand them the keys to your emotional freedom. That's not love, that's dependency. Real love flourishes only when two complete souls meet, not two broken ones trying to fill each other's voids. It's about learning to stand tall in your own identity, your own peace, your own light, and then sharing that light, not clinging to someone else's. When you detach from the need to own, control, or possess, love becomes expansive, not restrictive. You give not because you're afraid of losing, but because giving feels like breathing. The paradox is that when you no longer fear losing someone, that's when the relationship deepens. It's no longer a transaction. It's a union. Detachment is not apathy, it's clarity. It's knowing that love is most alive when it's free. You can't cage it. You can only nurture it through presence, respect, and space. That's where the soul finds peace, in love that doesn't cling, but empowers. Growth is the ultimate expression of love for yourself and others. You can't claim to love deeply if you're unwilling to evolve. Love without growth becomes stagnant. It becomes comfort disguised as connection. To grow, you must be willing to be uncomfortable. You must be willing to face your shadows, your insecurities, fears, and triggers. Because those are the barriers that block your ability to love purely. Every challenge in a relationship is an invitation to awaken, to see where you still need healing. Growth doesn't mean changing who you are to please someone else. It means becoming more of your true self and inspiring the same in them. You can't heal others by sacrificing your boundaries. You can only lead by example, by living your truth so powerfully that it gives others permission to do the same. That's love, not fixing, not rescuing, but rising together. The more you grow, the more capacity you have to give to understand, to forgive. Real love says, I see your potential, but I won't force your evolution. It's patience with accountability, compassion with strength. When you embrace growth as love's foundation, relationships stop being about comfort and start being about transformation. You realize that love's greatest purpose isn't to make you feel safe. It's to make you come alive. When you reach the place where love is not an escape but an expansion, you begin to understand that true connection starts with stillness. The greatest gift you can offer anyone is your full presence. Not your plans, not your promises, but your presence. In a world addicted to distraction, silence is the highest form of intimacy. When you sit with someone without trying to change them, fix them, or project your needs onto them, that's where real love lives. Most people listen to respond, not to understand, but when you listen with your heart, you stop judging, you start feeling, and you begin to see people as they are, not as your mind wants them to be. That's where the soul begins to breathe. When love is built on awareness instead of expectation, it becomes an energy that heals both people. It's no longer about getting something. It's about giving because giving feels natural. Stillness teaches you to stop chasing love and start being love, to stand so deeply in your own peace that you no longer need validation to feel whole. You realize that the energy you bring into the world attracts the same energy back to you. The love you seek is simply the reflection of the love you already carry within. The more grounded you are in that truth, the more your relationships transform, not through effort, but through alignment. Forgiveness is the final act of liberation. Without forgiveness, love can't breathe. You can't create a powerful future if you're still chained to the past. Every resentment, every grudge, every moment of bitterness becomes emotional poison that keeps you small. Forgiveness isn't saying what happened was okay. It's saying you're no longer willing to let it define who you are. It's the moment you choose freedom over pain, peace over pride. When you forgive, you reclaim your power. You take the energy that was locked in your wounds and redirect it toward growth, gratitude, and purpose. You stop needing closure from others because you've given it to yourself. You understand that no one else can free you. Only you can decide that the story ends differently this time. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It transforms your relationship with it. It turns pain into wisdom, heartbreak into strength. When you let go, you create space for joy, for clarity, for love that isn't heavy. That's when you truly awaken, when you stop waiting for someone else to complete you and start realizing that your wholeness was never lost. You just had to remember who you are, love, unbound, unstoppable, free. Love without attachment doesn't mean love without depth. It means loving from power, not from pain. It means letting go of the illusion that someone else completes you. You are already whole when you remember that love becomes the most liberating force in the world. Stop clinging, stop chasing, start becoming. Because when you become love itself, you no longer fear losing it. You radiate it everywhere you go.